The Smurfit Stone Corporation's pulp and paper mill has been in operation for 41 years. Located 10 miles west of Missoula, in the small community of Frenchtown, the mill has been operated by several different companies throughout the years. Since it opened in 1957, the mill has provided the highest-paying blue-collar jobs in the Missoula Valley. However, many controversial topics surround the operation today, including water quality, impact on fish and wildlife, air quality, and methods of production used by the plant. The Frenchtown mill produces two main products, white top linerboard and brown linerboard. The white sheet of paper lining these boxes is required to be treated at a bleach plant within the mill.
Stone Container has been for many years producing linerboard, which is the flat part of a cardboard box. If you think of one side of a cardboard box, you have two flat sides and a corrugated middle. The corrugated medium, as it's called, is produced at other plants. Linerboard actually is typically two sheets of paper put together. There we go. And if it's brown, both sides will be brown. But if you put linerboard together that's going to be bleached, you still have one sheet that's brown and one sheet that's bleached white.
The mill bleaches their white top linerboard with chlorine. Bleaching with chlorine leads to byproducts of organochlorines, which are potentially dangerous dioxins. Bryony Schwan, program director of the local nonprofit environmental justice organization, Women's Voices for the Earth, or WEAVE, has worked to educate residents of the Missoula Valley about the effects of dioxins in the environment.
Organochlorines are toxic compounds that are created when chlorine goes into the environment and combines with organic molecules, and they form organochlorines. And there are thousands of different kinds of organochlorines. Dioxins are a group of organochlorines that are the most toxic. There are 75 forms of dioxin. And they get into the environment from pulp mills through a number of sources, and specifically through the Smurfit Stone Pulp Mill. Organochlorines and dioxin get into the environment in two ways primarily. One, they go into the Clark Fork River from water discharges from the bleach plant at the mill. They go into the settling ponds and then into the river, and there they will affect fish or any other living organisms in the river, and particularly organisms that feed off the bottom of the mud. And what the problem with these compounds too is that they bioaccumulate up the food chain. So they may be very small amounts in freshwater shrimp or other aquatic organisms, then those get eaten by fish and they multiply up many, many times. And then you have, say for instance, an eagle that comes along and eats fish out of the river. Well, the eagle's going to eat 30 or 40 fish in any time frame, and each one of those fish contain these compounds, and that's how it bioaccumulates up. So by the time the eagle eats the fish from the river, it's getting many, many times more amounts of dioxin organochlorines than the microorganisms in the river. The compounds also get into our environment, particularly through the air, through air emissions at the mill. Stone Container, besides bleaching pulp with chlorine, they incinerate chlorinated sludge from the mill, and they also incinerate PVC waste. And this is plastic waste that gets into the process from the recycled cardboard. The mill uses 550 tons of recycled cardboard a day, which is a good thing. Unfortunately, there's a lot of plastic waste in there, and some pieces that are too small to really pull out and put in the landfill. And so they burn about 10 tons of plastic a day. And it's very difficult to know how much of that plastic on a daily or an hourly basis is PVC, but there's a fair amount of it. And so when that's incinerated, you're creating dioxins and organochlorines that come out through the smokestack. And those compounds can settle anywhere around the mill, or they can travel hundreds of miles on various air currents and end up in Helena or Bozeman or wherever. I mean, it's very difficult to know exactly where they are ending up. We do know that they can travel many hundreds of miles.
Residents of the city of Missoula and the surrounding area hold different views concerning the presence of the Frenchtown Mill in the community. However, everyone can agree that the mill has a significant impact, economically and environmentally.
One thing that really bothers me about it is that they've consistently got the message that their pollutants are not wanted or welcome in the valley.
I have extended family who work there who I hear a lot of the pro side of the mill from, but not a lot of the negative side. All I know is that it's a huge source of pollution in Missoula that needs to get cleaned up.
All I know is that stone containers been polluting the cardboard. Well, Missoula would be a much better place without stone containers' existence, but I don't think that's going to be possible politically in the near future, so everybody here has to kind of live with stone container being here. So the best alternative is to try to work with those people that own and run the place to somehow find a better way of managing its pollutants that it throws out into this town.
Stone container has not complied with regulations as well as they could have, and they've instituted some changes but not enough.
On February 12, 1999, the Smurfit Stone Corporation decided to close down its bleach plant at the Frenchtown Mill. 12 jobs were lost. Many different factors prompted the closing of the bleach plant, including the merger between Jefferson Smurfit Corporation and the Stone Container Corporation. In addition, the EPA has set stricter regulations for the pulp and paper industry concerning the use of chlorine. To continue bleaching, the Frenchtown Mill would require expensive renovations to their bleach plant.
Effective the end of February, we have basically exited the white top liner business, and as a result have discontinued bleaching here at Missoula. The bleaching itself is not moved, but the production of white top linerboard that used to be produced here is moved to our mill in Bruton, Alabama, which is a mill that was part of the Jefferson Smurfit Corporation. They already produce a number of bleached products, and one of the bleached products that they do produce is white top linerboard, and they will continue to produce what they had in the past, plus they're picking up most of our orders as well.
I think it's a great idea that they decided to stop bleaching here in Missoula. I think it's sort of sad that they're just transferring it from here to another state. We need to think about this bleaching issue on a much larger scale as people of a country and not just of a state. It's not just our backyard. It's a much bigger picture than that.
Various opinions are held by different members in the community. Some believe the merger influenced the decision the most, while others believe pressure from the environmental community forced the EPA to pass stricter regulations.
In this particular case, the decision to discontinue bleaching was based primarily on the factors that I mentioned earlier. Those investments for environmental concerns, and those investments for quality concerns, and what we could do as a company to better utilize this facility in its productive capacity and utilize the other facilities we have in our organization, and it just didn't make sense for us to continue. The fact that an environmental activist group or a church group says, boy, you better quit bleaching or else, that's not necessarily a motivator for us to make changes in direction, but I think certainly those concerns are some of the things that led to some of the environmental regulations that were included in the cluster rule.
Billy Stern of the Native Forest Network has played an active role in pressuring the Smurfit Stone Corporation to go completely chlorine-free. He cites the numerous organizations involved in pollution problems plaguing the mill.
Now, Stone also could have done some other things with the bleach plant, and we were pushing them for many years. We being the Native Forest Network, Coal Mountain Coal Rivers, a coalition of groups called Montana Cheer, some other groups that weren't in that coalition, Women's Voices for the Earth and the Clark Fork Coalition, have been asking Stone for many years to go to totally chlorine-free technologies.
Well, I personally think the environmental community had a huge impact on this decision.
Other members of the community have a different opinion regarding the Smurfit Stone decision. Alberton bookstore owner Harmon Rainey has lived most of his life downstream from the Frenchtown Mill.
Yeah, I think it was a market decision. And I think most environmental steps in cleaning up industry are gone. That's the way you're going to go. I mean, you can regulate it, enforce them, and if it's not cost effective, they'll do away with it.
The Frenchtown Mill has made considerable improvements in their facility to reduce the impact of effluent into the Clark Fork River and discharges into the Missoula Valley airshed. The mill's contributions to the smog problem in the valley are contested.
I've studied the airshed intensively, and while I can see some inputs from my work due to the pulp mill, by far most of what I see right now is related to wood-burning stoves and emissions from motor vehicles as far as what we're receiving here in the city.
In terms of our air permit, this mill typically emits about 30% of its allowable particulate. And those limits, which are in our permit, are based on health standard and potential environmental impacts. And there's a margin of safety associated with them. So to operate well below those limits is saying something significant. So the fact that we operate at 30% of our allowable emissions is something that indicates a commitment to minimize our impact to the environment.
The pulp and paper industry is experiencing shifts in their processes, responding to both economic and environmental pressures. Most mills in Europe operate totally chlorine-free. As Billy Stern asserts, consumers purchasing white paper products create a demand for bleached paper and linerboard. U.S. mills continue bleaching within their plants to supply the aesthetic demand of white paper products.
You're paying for them through purchasing their products.
What does the future hold for the Frenchtown Mill following the close of the bleach plant? Will the EPA impose stricter regulations and force all mills to go totally chlorine-free? The community of the Missoula Valley continues to explore issues facing industry, human health, and the environment. In order for corporations such as Smurfit Stone to be held accountable for their impact upon the environment, awareness of the links between consumption and production must continue to increase.